I stimulated, as a university professor, the risk and failure in my students and in general, and even in research projects. In a company, unfortunately, you don't need to stimulate because you fail most of the times. To get 2 projects, you submit 10. So you have to, it would be funny if companies in their websites, instead of just publishing their successes, they would list their failures. Can you imagine a website of your company with the successes and failures? I think most of the companies in the world fail more than have success. And I think it's something that most of the people don't understand. So, and unfortunately, it's not part of the education. And that's one of the reasons there are so few entrepreneurs, because most of the times as a student, you are successful in the end.
And do you think that's to do with the culture of education? Do you think that's to do with, is that very Portuguese? Is it something you see on your travels elsewhere in the world?
Well, I think there are differences in the world, of course. In Portugal, we had a teaching system that was based on infection. You had to go to lectures, you were infected, and then you go to the exams to test the extent of your infection. If you have a teaching by immersion, where you work more, you have projects, you have interaction, that changes. And I think right now the differences between the university systems in the world are very much related to this dichotomy between teaching by infection and teaching by immersion, because the teaching by immersion favors much more the creative people, while the teaching by infection eliminates them.
And what, on your travels in Austin, Texas, or in Shanghai, are you finding very different attitudes and therefore different kinds of people coming into companies like Y Dreams? Are there things we can do differently in Europe to encourage more?
Well, Shanghai as a city is very interesting. Yeah. I don't think the Chinese educational system is very interesting. And I think it's a huge change to work with, well, of course there are lots of people in China that are very creative, but in general it's a teaching by infection system. In Austin, Texas, I think it's just the opposite. I think Austin must be probably one of the most entrepreneurial cities in the world right now. And also there is a sense of exploration that is very rare. And it's one of the reasons we are gravitating towards Austin. And also inbred into the city, there is this sense of exploration in music, in art, in movie making, and so forth. We can find some of that also, of course, in many European cities. We are in Barcelona, which is a really exciting city right now. London, of course. So it's not unique. But the great thing about being all around the world is that it's not only you. It's what you look around, and there are unbelievable things happening, and they are happening at a speed that is, and that you have to be there.
You mentioned the stress of being an entrepreneur at the beginning, and how you never knew how you were going to meet salary for the first 4 years. How do you stop that becoming destructive for you as an individual, for the company?
Well, there are people that define management as the art of controlling stress to the optimal level. I think, our employees never knew that we didn't have money to pay on the 20th when their salaries were due on the 28th. So you have to absorb the stress yourself, and it's part of your job. As a leader, you have to absorb the stress and have the poise to make things happen and not transfer your stress to the team. Mm-hmm. So we did that, I think, very successfully. And one of the problems when you are very successful is just the reverse. There's an old feeling, you receive investment about 1.5 years ago. When you receive investment, people suddenly are, the stress level go to, we have lots of money, we are fine. And, so it's again my job and the people that manage the company with me to apply stress. But in general, you can also, you have different levels in the company in different sectors. I mean, sales is always a stress. But, you know, it would be terrible if I apply the same stress to the people that are trying to do research on systems that will be on the market for 4 years. So you cannot apply in a homogeneous way.
So you're sort of describing an organism. A company is an organism where certain parts of the organism need to be protected and other parts have to be, put under stress in order to achieve the best thing that they can achieve? Well,
in general, you need a little bit of stress level at every sense. And of course you have to apply different levels of stress. But one of the most important things is you have to select the right people to absorb that stress. And that's one of the major difficulties in Portugal, because we have a very soft life, as you can see. I mean, it's a very soft culture.
You have a different clock, I know that.
Well, you know, there is a story about someone that arrived late, and the guy says, well, you arrived too late. And the guy replied, well, you have the clock, but I have the time. And